subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you don't.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Good morning. It's the best. New. Real.
Here we are at the last week of January. And it's cold in most parts of the U.S. The inauguration is over. And we're into the 2021 mystery year. Everybody's got some sort of prognostication, like the groundhog, on the Patriot Party or, socialism, communism, World War III, Civil War, further erosion of freedom of speech, the trampling of the U.S. Constitution, space aliens. That's a whole different story. All that stuff that's been leaking out. My eyes look half closed because it's early in the morning for me. I got up early today again. Like I woke up and it was 3 something and I rolled out of bed after 4. Now it's the time I got all this stuff happening. It's a couple hours later, but I'm still half asleep. I don't drink coffee. I used to drink coffee and smoke cigarettes, many years ago, but I quit that. Occasionally now I'll have like a caffeine drink, like a diet Dr. Pepper or diet Pepsi or something like that in the morning, but I just kicked the habit of just about everything. I just do things for the sake of enjoyment or for the moment. It's like I worked, the last thing I did before I got into this living the so-called good life of just lowering my expenses so much that I really could live on next to nothing and grow my own food, was I had an advertising agency. I was a creative director of an advertising agency, and I also published a entertainment, like a dining entertainment magazine in two different nearby cities or towns, I would call them. They were major publications, and so you're in that business. It's like every day after work, it's like you go to some pub and have a few drinks, and 1 or 2 of those days you end up, having more than 1 or 2 drinks. But you get out of that stuff, and then it's like, so now maybe I'm down to like once every couple of weeks I might have a few drinks. Do that sort of thing. It's just like you adapt your life. That's why I always had a problem with people with addictions. And I know there must be some electrochemical predisposition or processes that go on in the human brain, people's metabolism, that forces them in some way to not be able to break away from whatever it might be, whether it be smoking, drinking, whatever. But But I never had that problem. I don't know why. It's just I just like when I quit smoking, I was smoking a couple packs a day there for a while, and and I was pretty much I understand the dependency on it, the habit of it. I could remember like that was a big thing. It could be like a very cold, freezing morning. Here comes the usual morning traffic while I do this thing. But it could be, blistery cold outside or something like that. And I was out of cigarettes. It'd be like, take that walk to the convenience store and get those cigarettes. Same with the caffeine thing. It wasn't coffee. It was like the caffeinated diet soft drink, Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, whatever brand it was. You had to have it. Drank 2 of them sometimes. And, and it was the same with drinking. It wasn't, it was like, it was the thing to do. Let's get a beer. Let's get a drink. Let's drink. Maybe do a shot or something. It was like, but I just kind of went cold turkey on all that stuff, and it never really phased me in a sense. Like I felt, oh my God, I made a conscious decision to just stop, or, didn't want to. The cigarettes were getting stale because I couldn't find fresh ones, and I just said, oh, the heck with it. I'm not going to pay a ridiculous amount of money for these things. And, I had moved somewhere. I actually moved to the Gulf Coast of Florida at the time. This is like how long ago? I'm up in the Mid-Atlantic states now. And I didn't know anybody. I just moved down there because I just wanted to change. And I wanted warm weather, and I wanted to be in a coastal area because I've always liked that. And I moved down, so I didn't really know many people, and so I didn't drink for like a year or something. It just didn't do it. I was still smoking and drinking coffee then. But then, like I said, when the price of cigarettes went up and they were getting stale because I guess there were more on the shelves because less people were buying them, I just stopped. Like, oh, I'm just not going to. And it didn't really faze me. Occasionally, if I do have a beer and some drinks now, I will smoke a cigar, but it's just kind of puffing on a cigar. It's not like that same experience of nicotine and deeply inhaling in your lungs and all that crap. It's just like you're just kind of puffing on a cigar. And the caffeine thing's the same way. It's right now, I guess you could see, like I said, you could probably see because my eyes are half open. But I wanted to do this. That I could go for some caffeine right now, but I'm sure as hell not going to walk down to there's a convenience store about, I don't know, half a mile up the street. It's snowy. It snowed this morning. Not a lot, but enough to, have to put on the old boots and bundle up. There's a supermarket about a mile down the street. And I could have easily done that this morning, to get some caffeine or whatever. But it's like, nah, the heck with it. So that's how you know that you just don't have, I guess, what they call an addictive personality. And again, I don't want to criticize anybody because understanding the biological, psychological, combination thereof of addiction is is something that I'm no expert on, and I can't say that people are faking it or they're just weak-minded or something like that. But I just did the same thing with Twitter, and I know people are addicted to. About 5 years ago, I discontinued. I had Verizon, or I think it was Verizon, was my cell phone carrier with my iPhone. And I kept my iPhone. I'm going to grab it here. Gotta hold it up like this so you can actually see it. But I just stopped the service. At that time it was like, it was that classic creep. And now we'll get into what today's topic will be about. It was a classic creep of, where you start out where you're paying $69.99 for something, and then, every month it seems to go up $1, or so. And a year goes by, a little over a year, and then it's like $89.99. And before you know it, you're paying like $90, almost $100 for a cell phone service. At least then. Now it's a lot more competitive, and you can get some deals out there. And they even have ones without contracts. I think I had to have a 2-year contract then. If you break the contract, they make you pay the full amount of what you would have paid if you would have kept the phone, which I always laugh. So I'm not using the service, but you're going to charge me, $1,000 for not using your service. Kind of like that Obamacare thing, right? You had to pay to not have health care. But I quit the cell phone, and people were surprised. They said, I tried to call you, your number's disconnected, or whatever. And I got this Magic Jack thing where you pay like $39.95 a month. It's not sponsored or anything. Of course, anyone who sponsored me would be a fool. I only get, like, if I get a dozen views on half these videos. But I do them anyway, for posterity's sake. And every now and then there is one here and there that, breaks into the hundreds. I've actually had some older videos reach the thousands. But, people couldn't comprehend that I would like go take a walk and go to the grocery store and didn't have a cell phone with me. And I never really used the thing that much. When I was doing the magazine things, the dining guide, entertainment thing, I'd carry it with me because I'd check email in case, somebody wanted a last-minute advertiser wanted something in, or an event that I needed to include into a calendar or something like that. I mean, there was an actual purpose to that. But the rest I didn't use any of the other apps or anything like that. It wasn't my game. I just wasn't my scene. So I broke the cell phone habit really quick, and now I just use this phone. If thing could die on me eventually, but I just use it with this Wi-Fi phone thing, and I use it as my home phone. I pay, like I say, $40 a year, not a month, just so I have a phone access, something I could have laying around. I get a phone call. There's an app on my what was a smartphone, and I can also plug in. It's like internet phone service type of thing, the same $40 a year, and I can plug in an old traditional house phone or something to it. So if I'm out in the backyard, I have a wireless phone. I can get a phone call or something like that. But I never had too much of that. Didn't have that addiction to that either. And about 5 years ago, I quit Twitter. And, and that was like, to a lot of people, they thought you're crazy, And they're family members and stuff like that. But I said, look, all you guys are doing is posting pictures of your kids' birthday parties and, dragging out old photos or something weird like that. I didn't have any kids. It's like, there was nothing. I didn't see any value for Facebook. I was trying to promote some of my music tracks and things like that, but I found people to be very self-centered on that platform particularly. It was all I, me, mine. Look at the food we just ate. Look at our vacation. Look at our our party, in our backyard. And I'd be like, So I quit that. Didn't like have any withdrawal symptoms. I kept an Instagram account, which I use kind of as a virtual garden log, where I post photos of like when I plant seedlings and some stuff like that, or some certain things, occasionally some personal things here or there. But I mean, it's nothing. The whole purpose of it is just for me to actually to see the progression of like when I plant my garden and go back year after year. I've been doing it for a couple of years now, and see like say what was growing in May, what was happening by August. Am I on target with this? Should I have planted this earlier or later or blah blah blah. So I kept that, but it's like I say, it's once a week or so, or I was on Twitter and I was getting involved in all this crazy, all the craziness that went on last year, the downfall of civilization as we know it. You've heard me, get on rants about that. And then I decided, no, I said, I've said all I could say, and everything was becoming repetitive. And people were being irrational on Twitter. There was just a lot of like hate back and forth, anger back and forth, just criticisms back and forth. But it was the same stuff being rehashed. And people were just taking clips or video clips or snapshots, screen captures of some media thing, and then criticizing it, and then that was being retweeted and becoming viral, but nothing happened. All the promises, all the things, trust the plans, and this is going to happen, and watch, And I just said, the hell with it. And I stopped. And it was something I was doing every morning. I'd get up in the morning and I'd spend some time on it. Sometimes as much as an hour, replying to different comments. I had at one point, probably approaching 4,000, I guess 4,000, high 3,000 followers or something like that. Then they did that purge and overnight, like you were losing 1,000, at one point I was getting views, monthly views at 1 million views for like my various replies, comments, and things like that, the exposure I was getting. But they just kept, it's that every time you'd gain followers, they'd take them away. And so I guess they call it throttling in one way. So they just keep certain people that are, they even have terms for them. It's like, unlike the influencers that they allow, like say on the Instagrams and even on Twitter and Facebook and stuff, they allow certain generic influencers to sell products and advertisements. People like me that were influencers, like kind of under the radar influencers who were reaching, say, 1 million people, they would throttle you down, keep throttling you down so that you wouldn't attract more and more followers, because that's part of the game of social media. Is like go with the the person. Oh wow, that person has 1 million followers, so I'm going to follow them. Oh, that person only has like a couple hundred followers or several thousand followers. Maybe I won't follow them. And then you have the so-called prima donnas. And remember, everybody on the internet, everybody everywhere, doesn't matter who you are, they're just people. And so then you have these people that just wouldn't follow back anybody, and that always, unless they were somebody. But it's like nobody's anybody, right? Everyone that you think is somebody came from some, out of the womb of some mother, went to school, And somehow through a series of events, somehow held a political office, became a pop star, right? Or, was lucky enough to, get a job at some company or do something. And now they were considered somebody. And then people get nervous being around them and elevate them, and that's how we have the thing called the cult of personality. And this, it's like the entertainers, the star system, And that's really laughable. And you say, well, how does that relate to what you're talking about, to addictions and all that kind of stuff, habits and whatever? Well, the idea is it's that reality is unreal. And some people take it to an extreme and they go, oh, life's a simulation, or this is that, and we live, there's multiverses and astral projection and all kinds of crazy ideas that may or may not be true, because like I always say, we don't know what we don't know. So no one, it always bothers me when you watch these, like, well, I used to, I don't do it anymore, but a Discovery Channel or a History Channel, and there's the narrator over top of something, and they're matter-of-factually saying this, and whether or not it's history or science or something. Well, we know at the outer part of the outer part of the black hole, this horizon, such and such, and it's like, and at the Big Bang, nanoseconds after the Big Bang, and I just like kick back, and that's why I get canceled my TV service too. I kick that habit. I don't sit around binge watching that kind of news and get caught up in that stuff either. But I always thought that, well, not even funny, it was actually disgusting, because even the Big Bang theory, not the TV show, the theory of physics, origin of, the known universe, as they say, it's a theory. Black holes are a theory. Like a year or two ago, there was, a story out, oh, well, we photographed, something, and it turned out, if you really looked into it, it was, an amalgamation of something, and very questionable. We don't even know if there's we don't know for sure that there's a black hole at the center of every galaxy. And there's probably somebody out there, oh, yes, there is. People could take a chalkboard, a whiteboard, or some kind of, computer program, code, algorithms, and say mathematically, this formula demonstrates, blah, blah, blah. But as we've learned over, the millennia, that science is like a living thing. It exists to be disproven. Theories exist to be proven or disproven, and most usually are. And so certain theories now that people talk so matter-factually about that they don't know. It's like the people that talk about, the multiverse. There are some people hell-bent on it and could stand there in front of some board and write out some equations and have the whole class nodding their head, yeah, okay, and then they'll take a test on it as if this is, gospel truth. But it's not. It's all theoretical, right? It's theoretical physics. And at this point in our existence, we simply do not know most things. And just like we don't understand this concept of addiction. And so people that get caught up in these worlds. I sometimes liken them to these professors, academics, that live in a world and are surrounded in a world of academia. It's like politicians, the so-called people within the Beltway, that your whole group is everybody's like the preaching to the choir concept. It's like the media today. In other words, it's a singular idea that is just regurgitated among everyone, and they're without any, and the moment someone questions it, then that's heresy, which would go back to like medieval times where they would burn someone at the stake, or or worse, disembowel them in public for going against the dogma or the king's edicts. And that plays right into what's happening in 2021 here at the end of January, at the beginning of another year. And the absurdity and the emphasis on politics, or as I call it, politics is the new pop culture. We live in a corporatocracy, is really what we live in. Not politics is nothing. Politics is a pop cultural game tied in with the media and entertainment industry, and it's nothing. The world is a corporatocracy run by boards of directors. Even the military are pawns. Because this to people, they don't understand the true chain of command and where these orders come from. And people want to have idealistic dreams about the cult of personality, the individuals that they see as the figureheads, as their saviors, messiahs, when in reality they don't need any of that stuff. I quit Twitter. I don't miss it. I quit Facebook a long time ago. Don't miss it. Canceled my cell phone service. Don't miss it. Have a phone. I can make a phone call or get a phone call. But I'm not that concerned about it. People lived for years without phones. And they used to have things called payphones. And a lot of times you went to places sometimes where there wasn't even a phone. And we survived just fine. And if there were emergencies, people somehow found a way to be to have the proper medical or fire or law enforcement people involved to save a life or do whatever. In fact, one could argue that these people texting and driving and talking on a cell phone and driving probably, does more damages or cause more accidents than if someone was, than the number of people that might have got in an accident and had to wait till a passerby found them. And I don't know the statistics of that, but I know there's an awful lot of traffic deaths still. Don't even talk about it. Way more than, in the grand scheme of things, millions of people die, over the decades in automobile crashes. So, and all kinds of other things. So that's kind of may seem like it's all over there, but it's really all connected. It's all interconnected. And the idea is you have to break away from things, and you can't use the crutch of addiction. Okay? You can't use the crutch of that you were treated poorly, and therefore that's, you know, that's your excuse. Now this is heresy, what I'm saying right now, because I'm, you know, I could, you know, if I had a wide audience, I could see there would be like, you know, thousands and thousands of comments about this. But I truly and honestly believe that. You know, I mean, we all have depression at times. We all have weaknesses. We all get caught up in habits. We all, you know, somehow succumb to things because of reaction to something negative in our lives. And you know, this whole idea of where it's, you know, the Chicken Little sky is falling because of politics right now, and because people got banned on Twitter and free speech is supposedly taken away from us, is something that people just have to get over. Because we don't need Twitter, Facebook, right? Free speech is your ability to speak. I'm exercising my free speech right now. And if, you know, this platform doesn't particularly care for it, I'll move to another platform. They're not going to take everything off. Remember, we live in a corporatocracy. It's all about money. You know, if people continually leave Twitter in droves the way they have been, you know, Twitter will just go out of business. Or it will be kept like a CNN or something, propped up by certain people that just want to, you know, push their ideology to like a million or so people. But it's only, like I've said many times, it's only 1 million some people watch CNN. But in a country of 330 million people, that's like 1/3 of 1%. You know, and you know, like I had seen stats, you know, when social media stats, so you have to really watch those things because they're so deceptive. You know, first of all, in many cases, they're, you know, they try to feed you that they're global audience and global reach. Then you have people that have multiple accounts. And you have people that have business accounts. They make beads and jewelry or rock bands or stuff like that. But I was looking into the statistics about a year or so ago and found that less than half the people that voted in like the 2016 election in the U.S. were actually on Twitter. Okay? Excuse me. Which means that, and that was the total, and that meant, and you know, we're pretty much split down the middle, you know, voting wise and ideology wise and politically in this country. So that meant that technically Twitter had literally was and that's when Twitter was like big. You know, in the past, say 3 or 4 months, you know, Twitter's basically lost unbelievable millions and millions of people. But in other words, they weren't significant at all. And neither was Facebook. People tried to make a thing about Facebook. They said, oh, the Russians placed, you know, some ads on Facebook in 2016. Well, it turned out that they placed, I don't know, it was like $100,000 or wasn't even that. I mean, I'm in the advertising business. I mean, these were minuscule amounts of money. And when you consider the way an advertisement appears in a feed, you know, and how people scroll down or how people look through their mobile device or blah, blah, blah. The the idea, the impression as we call it, the frequency, reach, and impression, these are advertising terms. Frequency, how many times, are you running that ad? What's the reach, okay? The demographics, what good is an ad, what good is an ad selling peanut butter to somebody who has a peanut allergy, or what good is it selling some kind of, new car to some senior citizen on Facebook who just wants to see their grandkids? Demographics, very important. Frequency, the idea that they're going to see this multiple times so it sinks into their brain. So reach, frequency, the impressions, how many impressions of this particular response. And when you evaluated what they were trying to say, that they basically had, no influence. They may have influenced in an ideal situation, a couple thousand people, but that would be assuming that the people that got it were leaned in that political direction in the first place. Because remember, you're talking about people today on social media have the attention span of a goldfish, which I think is about 6 seconds or something along those lines. So, that's what I'm saying. That reality, people don't understand reality, number one. People are addicted, but I would prefer the word have a habit of social media. People misconstrue the cult of personality and politics as pop culture with, the destruction of the Constitution and free speech. And just like in theoretical physics, they're theories. So what you have to do in life is you have to realize, what is real, and in answering that question is not some thing like out of the Matrix or something. The answering that is there's a simple answer to that question. What is real is what is your life. What is reality is the reality that you perceive, as you walk through this, this world. And that reality is malleable. That reality you are in charge of, not other people. These are all things. That's why they call people influencers and and all of that, media, reach, and frequency, and all that, and all these theories. Here's my idea about that, or here's my stump speech. Here's the media trying to bombard this idea on you. Such and such was a criminal, or such and such is a great man. Or such and such is, has got Alzheimer's. The idea there is that imagine yourself walking, and maybe you can't because they don't have this stuff anymore, but I worked at the shore, and they had these piers on the boardwalk, and they were still like the old circus. They called them barkers. And it's like you'd walk on that, and it'd be like, and you may probably have seen this in a movie. Come on in here, kids, and see this. See the two-headed, woman, Come over here for this thrill ride. Come into this magic mirror land, Check this out. The old bright and shiny object, idea. Consumerism. Everything. Which brings us back to the corporatocracy. So you're walking through this world, and as you walk down the street, or drive wherever, or do whatever, on all sides of you are these people trying to sell you something. And it's not just selling you, here's a better shampoo, or here's something gluten-free, even though nobody even, gluten-free. I mean, come on, man. Gluten-free. They create these things. Right? So it's like, here, vegan. Here, this is vegan. This is vegetarian. This is this is caged free eggs. What does that mean? It's a freaking egg. It wasn't even a living creature. I mean, I don't want to gross somebody out, but it's basically a period that a chicken has. That's what an egg is. But the point of the matter is, with all this nonsense, everybody's trying to sell you something. Better soap, better shampoo, better car, better computer, new watch, new this, new that. Subscribe to this. Here's a cloud service. We'll give you, discount on this. Movies, free movies for 7 days. You could cancel at any time. It's like walking through Las Vegas or some kind of red light district in Amsterdam or something. Come on in here, honey. Our girls are the best. And people are falling for this stuff, hook, line, and sinker. And then they get addicted to it. Right? And their lives are so messed up that there's a lot of people out there that actually they want to live in that world. They just want to stay high all the time because they can't cope with all this stuff because they can't afford it, or because their job's miserable, or because they're in a bad relationship, or most people today have no relationship. And so they sit around and they just get high in some way, shape, or form, whether it's from some mild pot drug to shooting themselves up in the arm. Or something, or whatever. Or just being, drunk, shit-faced drunk all the time, or chain smoking, putting so much nicotine in them, whatever it may be. Instead of just moderation in living life and enjoying the fruits of the planet that aren't just the fruits that grow in the tree, but the things that we've created, the things that are there for us to enjoy, to experience, to experience a fuller life. So you have to break the shackles of the corporatocracy. You have to forget about this idiocy of the cult of personality, as if some random person through a series of events somehow became richer than you. Right? How many people, if you live in a big city, where they have a lot of basketball courts, in neighborhoods and stuff like that. How many players are shooting baskets, on some street corner, in Brooklyn or Bronx or something, Harlem, that are better than some, mega millionaire NBA player, or just as good. But through a series of events, one guy gets to be worshipped and a hero and is sponsored by Nike, and the other guy's living on the street and comes home in a neighborhood and might get shot or caught up in some gang thing and, killed, or his family members killed. All right? It's a series of events, random events, things that come together. And it's like that with entertainers too. I've been all over the place. I've seen some great guitarists, blues guitarists, rock guitarists, in off-the-wall clubs in Chicago or L.A. And then you'll see people who are, gold, platinum records, superstars, and they they can't play guitar even close to these people you've seen in these clubs. Same with actors, people acting, the Hollywood star on the Walk of Fame, you know. And then you could go to some weird summer stock theater in upstate New York and see a performer that just, you know, knocks your socks off. They're just people. And politicians, well, none of them are anything. They're all cardboard created candidates with all sorts of writers behind them, researchers behind them. It's like the congressional pages and all these people that just do all this stuff, you know, propped up. You know, look at the White House, the West Wing, and all that stuff. You know, these people got, you know, there's like 1,000 people, you know, doing all this stuff. It's like mayors now, you know, in the cities they used to have a mayor. But now even in small towns, they hire like what they call a city manager. And some of them still have a mayor who's just like a figurehead. But it's a more accurate system of the way the world really works, at least the U.S. Because it's the city manager and the bureaucrats that really run the city, and the mayor literally is a ceremonial guy who sits in his car when they have their Halloween parade or St. Patrick's Day parade or July 4th parade, if they still have a parade, or cuts the ribbon at some event. And that's what the corporatocracy is. And they sell this line to people. And people become addicted to all of the things that they put out there, the bright and shiny objects and all the drugs and the prescription drugs, right? And these mind games they play on you. To be scared of germs, you know, be scared of this, do this, don't do that, you know, the fear of some kind of group rising up against others or something like that. All big games, they're just selling you like circus barkers. Come on in here, listen to this, look at that. Come on here for a thrill ride. And that's what it is. Twitter's one big dopamine hit. It's a thrill ride. It's a roller coaster. And people just want to hop on that every day. And you could wake up to reality and just live your life. And I'm not tooting my horn because I don't play the horn. But you can live anywhere you want to. You could pretty much do whatever you want to right now. Because you don't have to pay attention to these people. But they're going to raise my taxes, or I can't do this here. Then get out. Get out. Leave. Well, it's not that easy. Yeah, it's not that easy. If it was that easy, you know, these corporatocracy people would be out of a job because they make it hard for you. But it's not impossible. And it's not even that difficult. Okay? You just got to set your mind to it. You want to be free, be free. You just have to decide. Do you want to be free, or do you want to spend the rest of your life in anxiety, anger, filled with hate, pitted against another manufactured ideology, both of which are just diversions from reality? Politics is a diversion from reality. Politics is a diversion from the corporatocracy, the true rulers of the planet Earth. The Davos set that I've talked about. The people who hang out in Brussels, who run the EU. All right? This is the power brokers, the people in charge, the puppeteers. These people like these kings and queens that still live as if this is medieval times, and they own the land, they own the world in their castles, with their arrogance, and somebody marries a prince and they're a princess suddenly. What the? You gotta be kidding me. They're nobodies. They're nobodies. They're nobodies. You can make a lot of money in this world if you want to. Or you don't need to make a dime. And you could still live. You just have to get your act together. You got to be awake to all of these kinds of things I said. I covered a lot of material in this video, and I'm just about ending now. And, you know, maybe listen to it again, and maybe it starts out slow and you got to figure out how to connect the dots. And maybe that's your problem. You don't have the ability, or you don't take the time to, like, allow something, because the idea of a meme or just spending 6 seconds and just scrolling down at something is that you don't allow the story to be told. You have to understand the background, the elements, and see how everything comes together. And that there's nothing wrong with you. They're just telling you there's something wrong with you. You're not addicted. You don't have any problems. All right? Unless you got bashed in the head or shot in the head, have a piece of metal in your head, yeah, then you do got problems. Or if if you got some brain-eating disease and holes in your head, your brain's like Swiss cheese, like Biden, because that's what Alzheimer does. It puts holes in your brains. I know, because my father died of it. But unless you are seriously physically ill, all right? Not just sick and tired and whatever, and convinced because they're selling some kind of prescription drugs, and in the description you saw on TV, oh yeah, that's me, I need to take that. Hey doc, can I get that such and such? And half these doctors are just the same as a street corner pusher. They give you whatever they want. Pharmaceutical companies, guys, salesmen are coming in there all the time. I live next door to a doctor. I watch these guys, these girls pull up in these really nice cars with the short skirts and their, push-up bras, and then pull out their briefcase. They're pharmaceutical. They're going into the doctors to push pharmaceuticals, the doctors to give these to their patients. The same with the guys. Slick, well-dressed, actor-type, anchor-looking type of guys going in there, because I know there's a woman and a male doctor in this office next to me. And I see them because it's my front window. That's why you can hear cars go by, because this front room I have is like right on the main street. It's all a big game, man. It's all a big game. They're just selling you something. We live in a corporatocracy. Everything is public relations, advertising, and marketing. They're selling you politicians. They're selling you the cult of personality. They're selling you drugs. They're selling you everything. They don't fall for it. And freedom of speech, they're not taking freedom of speech away from you. They're taking freedom of speech away from the people on Twitter or who are on Parler. Well, if you're not on Parler, they didn't take your freedom of speech away. I go down to the supermarket. I see something, I call it out. I said in a video a while back, I walked in one store, people were, instead of being 6 feet away from each other, they're so-called, first of all, you were supposed to, the rule was, the way I understood it, now they change it from week to week, was that wear a mask. If you can't social distance, wear a mask, right? Well, these people had their full-blown mask regalia on, but they were like 12 feet away, so the line was like halfway down the store. You couldn't even find the line to check out. But there might have only been 10 people in line, but they were 12 feet away. Add it up. It's under 20 feet. And I go, what the heck are you people doing? It's 6 feet, right? And then they almost shudder and say, wow, a person spoke up. Oh no, right? And that's the thing. I got all the free speech I want. This is free speech. And like I said, I got copies of this thing. I don't like it here, put it on BitChute. I'll probably, put it on BitChute anyway. Or I'll put it on Gab TV or Band Video or some whatever. I don't care. Or I tell it to my people I talk to. Tell it to my friends. You got free speech. You can live wherever you want to in this country. There's empty houses for sale for $20,000. I told you before, I paid less than that for my house. My rent is probably 10 times or 5 times less. My mortgage, taxes, and insurance, I should say, are probably 10 to 5 times less than you're paying in rent. And I own. And I've got a garden in my backyard that grows most of my food. Do whatever you want. Freedom is a state of mind. You are what you are. And if more people would wake up to the idea and exercise their free speech and freedom, the internet didn't exist. Smartphones and apps and these Twitter and Facebook didn't even exist a little over a decade ago. Come on. We've been living just fine without them. And now people are addicted to them. Get lost. How could you be addicted to a thing that didn't even exist before, but yet civilization just did fine for thousands and thousands and thousands of years before and lived well, by the way. Enjoy your music. Enjoy life. Do whatever you want to do in this world. Be free. Get it together, people. Wake up. Wake up. Turn off the TV. Get out of social media. Forget it. Live your life. With human beings. You have free speech. You're free to do whatever you want to. And don't let these people try to tell you otherwise and say they're going to take these things away from you and these other things. It's a crock of shit. And if you're in an area or a place like that where you feel threatened that they're going to do that, then move out. Because when you move out of those areas, you'll find areas like where I am, where the cost of living is so darn cheap that you barely even have to work. And if you're a retirement age, you could retire on next to nothing and own your own home. And that's the truth. That's not a theory. Okay? That's the truth. So wake up. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Good luck. But you don't need it. You just need to be living the real world. Reality.